we are going to go through all of the contested ones first. Basically because the camera space is limited, so I want to get as many video ones that are going to be contested. Not that Ron isn't good competition, but and I'm going to go in the list of my email. So that means that we're going to start. Each person is going to get 2.5 minutes to speak, and I'm going to time that. Then the other person that they're up against, or people, will speak for 2.5 minutes, and then I'll open the floor for questions. This has the potential to go on for hours, so please, with questions, I want to try and keep it to a few really interesting ones. So if your question's a bit shit. So, in that case, I'm going to call Richard and Glenn up. Okay, we're going to go in alphabetical order based on surnames, so that means Richard, when I start my timer, you will get 2.5 minutes. Just go.
Right, hi, I'm Richard, I'm a third-year engineer, and I'm running for the role of Vice President. The Vice President has two main sort of sides to it. It's got the college role and the sort of political role, the external role. So, with regards to college, you all know I was president last year. I think in terms of college things, I'm quite good at getting tangible things into college. We've got the ping pong table, we're getting Sky, I got money back for freshers who are in really bad rooms. What else have we done? Like, just plenty of sort of tangible things. We're overhauling the accommodation system. We are working on sorting out the issues with Paul's Lodge and the massive staff turnover. Like sort of tangible things that you can see and that you'll feel in your everyday lives. And I'm much more that orientated than political based. With regards to KUSU, I'm quite open that I don't really think KUSU do a good job. And Glenn's quite open that he wants to change KUSU. He wants to get involved. He wants to make it better. I'm not saying I'm going to get involved and make it better. What I'm going to say is that I'm going to engage better. I'm going to make sure that as the JCR, we talk to KUSU, we fully engage in everything else, the President and Externals meeting, the college's database system, all that sort of stuff I'll engage with. And I think that to improve KUSU, it should be done from the inside. So if Glenn wants to improve it, he should apply for KUSU. There are elections on the 11th of November that you could have applied for. The JCR committee's engagement. You could apply for that if you want to improve engagement. And if you want to improve KUSU, you should attack from the inside out. So what I'm going to do is engage better, but not improve it. What I'm going to focus on is improving your lives, fighting for your rights, fighting for cheaper things, better things, getting more tangible things for you to enjoy. And if you think I do a good job of that, that's why I think you should vote for me. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, I'm Glenn. I'm maybe not as well known as Rich because I've been away in Russia, so half of college has had to get to know me in a term. I'm treasurer now. I was president 2 years ago, so actually in that respect, me and Rich aren't that different. So I guess you probably all know where we are different, and as Rich has said, KUSU seems to be the dividing issue. You probably all know that I campaigned quite passionately to re-affiliate and got the result I wanted. But I also don't think KUSU is perfect, and that's why I want to get, like I say, get involved with them and work from Selwyn. I don't want to run for them because that isn't providing a link between college and KUSU. I want to be based in Selwyn, but working with KUSU. So as I say in my manifesto, that's my priority this year. I feel kind of responsible having campaigned so hard. I need to prove to Selwyn that we did make the right decision, that the arguments I put forward were fair, and that I can get results. That might be naive, I hope it isn't. So I'm going to go to all the meetings, put forward initiatives. I want to try and get this block grant we're waiting for, get rid of affiliation fees so that that's not an issue anymore. It might not happen this year, but I think that's something to push for. But at the same time, I will still be a Selwyn Vice President. I won't be neglecting college. I'll be working very closely with Caroline, who, as I say in the manifesto, I think I see eye to eye with her. We've got similar views on a lot of things. So, I don't know about Richard, but I think we'll work well together. Also, you might have noticed I haven't really put forward any policy suggestions, and that's because I like to come up with policy when issues arise. So, for example, last year when I was in Russia, I noticed that a vote went through and the minutes hadn't been published, so I thought, well, how about a policy to get minutes published before we good. That's what I thought. Also, I think that the current committee has put a lot of stuff in motion which I fully support, and sort of things that would have been my ideas, like overhauling accommodation, looking at room rents, things like that. But I don't really have any major changes I want to make. So for me, it's more about good management, good support for Caroline, and sorting out this QC business. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'll open up the floor for questions. And try and keep your answers brief as possible.
Richard, do you think that you're possibly being president and going straight to vice president, you're stepping slightly on Caroline's toes and not really...
The questions have to be for both candidates.
Well, then both of you, in being president already, do you not think that's possibly slightly stepping on people's toes because you'd like to take the leadership role?
Not necessarily. I think Glenn's also stepped down from president into a non-presidential role. I think I'm quite a considerate person. I understand the hierarchy of the JCR and what my role would be. Mine would be purely supportive. We'd be supporting you guys, we'd be supporting her. And whilst I do have opinions about things, I'd understand that her decision is final. And I'm not afraid of saying my opinion, but I wouldn't force it. And I fully respect her and her right to overrule me. I think it's always like stepping down's always interesting, but you have to give me the opportunity to prove that I would be fine in that role. Like, you can't hypothesise about it, you just got to give me an opportunity, really. I've also been on the JCR before, ironically, as fresh as when Glenn was president. So he of all people can vouch how nice I am in not a presidential role. And I was vice president of the Snowball, so I completely understand what the vice president role is. It's supportive. It's also a dual leadership and supportive role. And I think having done that before many times, I'd be fine adapting to that.
Funnily enough, I was also vice president of the Snowball. Maybe you should just have both of us. Obviously I'm not stepping directly from the president role. I've been away, I've done treasurer. I think there's always a risk with someone who's been in a position before that person will want to, voice an opinion and say, well, I think this worked well when I did the job. Which I think, if it's advice, if you're not overruling the person in the top job, but just supporting them, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, it's about getting a balance between support and being a bit too pushy, which I don't think either of us are likely to do.
Thank you. Next question.
On the issue of QC, you've both said in different ways that you want to try and get a better deal for college from QC. So essentially, how do you see that happening? You both mentioned that a bit, but if there's any more detail, how do you plan on doing that? And also, what will be your priorities to get from QC for college?
Well, what I want to do is show Selwyn that QC is actually doing something, because that's something that always comes up, that nobody really knows what they're doing. I think a lot of it's behind the scenes. It's a bit like the JCR president role. Nobody really knows what you do. You say you're really busy, but actually it's all emails. And I think QC does a lot. Everyone's shouting and they just give us condoms. But I don't think they'd be getting paid that much money if that's all they were providing. So I want to find out exactly what they're doing, make sure it's what we want them to be doing for the money we're spending. And also, I want to take a look at some of the student unions across the country which do get a good rep, and see why ours is ranked at the very bottom. I mean, there must be something we can do better. So I think it's about looking at other student unions, learning from that, and then hopefully bringing them to change. I mean, I don't know what can be done in a year, but I will try my hardest to get some sort of result.
Yeah, I think I'm a little more passive in that I think it's their responsibility to change, but we should help them do that. So I'll engage as fully as I can. I'll attend everything they have going on. They're also talking about a QC comes to you scheme, so they're going to try and come into our JCRs and explain what they do. So all that sort of stuff, I'll try and engage with. In the last year, I did try and engage as much as I could. I invited Flick to the debate, and all that sort of stuff. I do care about getting involved, but in terms of me actively suggesting going forwards and trying to get really involved. That's not what I want to do. I care more about doing things within Selwyn, but I would fully engage with them in their quest to become more efficient and useful.
Yeah, I've got a question. How important do you think it is that a vice president lasts an hour a year?
That's a really important. I'd say it's not as important a role as treasurer. That's probably the one that really needs to be smooth, because as we realised this year, it's an absolute nightmare when someone goes away. But yeah, Glenn Bowen, it's not essential that it's smooth, but in terms of understanding the issues that are at hand and keeping that going, if you had a brand new person come in who's not on the JCR, because there won't be unless someone resigns and goes to the position in September, I think it's really important to keep the current issues going through without to transition it to a new person. That's why I think that'll be quite good, because I know what has been going on over the last year and I have to keep that going through the next year. And yeah, continuity is important, because not everything gets done in a short time frame. Some things take quite a while.
I knew that question was coming. I should have mentioned it before. Well, when I was president, I left. Again, I went to Russia, and Axel came in as president, and as far as I'm aware, there were no issues at all, because it's not ideal, and if a term's difference is what is going to decide your vote, then there's nothing I can do about that. But I can confirm that in those 2 terms I have, I will get a lot done. I mean, what you could do is vote for me and then have Richard Mickleth. No, I mean, it's not ideal. Like, I have a 4th year, I am leaving. And I mean, what I said in the manifesto is this, for me, was one more chance to do something. I don't have a great deal of time to do it, but if you give me the opportunity, I'll make the most of it.
Any more questions?
Both of you obviously had long and illustrious JCR careers. Could you tell us maybe 1 or 2 things, achievements in your time in any of the positions that you've held that you think that best define you in your approach?
Well, I've got I put through a few policies when I was running. What were they? Let me think. Well, there's mainly little things. I mean, I was more focused on getting other people to do their jobs well, rather than saying, like, this is my JCR, I want to do this, and this. So I was just, helping people in their roles to sort out policies, giving them advice on what might be good. I think we got the laundry flow when I was president. Then when I was in Russia, like I said, I brought in a couple of policies about voting. And then this term as treasurer, I haven't really done anything. I just sort of, sorted out the transition from David going away. Managed to smooth that all out. Prepared some documents for it, and it's going. So nothing huge, but I'd say my JCR career has been just one of good organisation, good reliability, good management, that sort of thing. Nothing. No huge single policy that makes me who I am. Yeah.
Richard?
I'd say your best policy you do is when you got veneration of the president.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Glenn passed policy that all presidents should have their poster framed, picture of them framed in here.
Yeah.
Where you define policy.
Until some rebels stole it and drew questionable objects on the face.
I guess I was much more visual in terms of like getting Sky. People might hate me, but I got rid of the newspapers because I felt a lot of people didn't read them. We've got Full Tail down here, we've got money back for freshers in really noisy rooms. We've pretty much finished overhauling the accommodation. We've got new rent codes and sort of a new basis for why rooms are as expensive as they are or as cheap as they are. We're in progress in improving the tutor system. We're hoping to get tutor training. That's sort of going through. As freshers rep, I guess the guide you see now, I wrote a lot of that. I completely rewrote the freshers guide. It took about 6 weeks or somewhere. And I think we did quite a good job of upgrading the freshers week. Me and Emily, I think probably one of the better ones in recent years. It's obviously got better now, but the step from when we were freshers to the ones that these guys had, and I think because they're such an integrated year, it's probably partially due to us, maybe. No, I think quite visual.
Okay, are there any more questions?